Okay, so now we're going to start bezeling. So we're going to do this center stone first with a peyote bezel. But I just wanted to share that, so I want to put some cup chain around, and in a perfect world I'll be able to fit all this beautifully. But I have to have room for the bezel, at least one, the width of a delica here, around here, and around this pearl, and around here, and then fit the cup chain in. I think I could do it. But we'll see how it goes. I may have to adjust that a little bit depending on, like I'm not worried about this side. This side I'm a little concerned about, but I'm not worried about it. We'll see how it goes, and I'll adjust as I go along. What we'll do with the cup chain, if you're using your cup chain, is I think I'm going to glue it down and then, I think I'm going to glue it down and then I'm going to sew, like in some places, just sew between the crystals just so that I make sure it stays there, because you just don't want it to come up. So I haven't done that before, so we'll see how that goes. But I just wanted to share that with you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start with this guy. So I'm going to clear this off, get a materials list going, and we'll get started. Okay, let's get a materials list going. So all the materials that were posted in the first video, I'm just going to copy and paste in the description box under this video and every subsequent video of the series. That way you have, if you want to go back and order something, or if you want to refer to something, it will all be there. So what you'll need just to do this portion is you'll need some delica beads, and I have several different colors here that I may use or may not. So you just need to decide where you want to put, what colors you want to put around each one of your cabochons. You could just go all metallic. And then I have an 11-0 delica, and then I have 15-0 seed beads, and this I'm using silver as sort of my companion color, or my background sort of color. So any metallic is going to be silver. And then I just wanted to share one thing with you that I forgot to share when I did the materials on the other video, are these little Druzy cabochons. And these are stunning for bead embroidery. Like, what if you put one there, or you put one here, somewhere. I put two of them in this cuff. Look at that sparkle. They're so gorgeous. And you can get these on Etsy, and I think actually, I could be wrong, but I think Eureka Crystal Beads sells some. And what you want, what a Druzy is, they're like little crystals that form on certain minerals. I think these might be agate, I'm not exactly sure. And they're just so sparkly. They're naturally forming. You can get faux Druzy too, which is resin, but these are naturally forming. I don't know if they're lab created or not. But if you're going to use a Druzy for any of the cabochon, for any of this, you want one that's super thin. You don't want a big thick one. So this is maybe 2 to 3 millimeters. You don't want any higher than maybe, I wouldn't go any higher than 3 or 4. You don't want something like super duper high like that, because you have to be able to bezel around it. So I wouldn't use this one. I'd use something like this. That's probably about 3 millimeters. All right, so you really want to make sure of that, otherwise you're not going to be able to use them. So I'll put some links I'll add links in the description box under the video to where you might be able to find these. I'll link the Etsy shop, and if they're on Eureka Crystals, I'll link that as well. All right, so I just wanted to show you those, because that's another super option for for bead embroidery. So then I have some 8-pound Fireline. I've got a size 10 beading needle. Don't forget, No More Roots bead tray, the Bring Berries mat. Again, as I said, everything's down below in the description box. So let me clear this off, and we're going to get started bezeling this center stone. Okay, let's start our peyote bezel. So thread your needle with about 3 feet of thread. I'm going to make a little knot and leave a tail. So not everybody knots their bead embroidery, but I do, so you don't have to knot it, but I find a little knot doesn't hurt. You don't want a huge knot. So what I did is I just measured about 3 or 4 inches, enough to get a needle on so you can sew back up through the backing. And then I made a little loop, and I went through it twice, 2 times. And then I pulled, and I come up with this little knot. Okay, so here, go through once, go through twice, give it a pull. It's going to give you a little knot with a small tail. So now I'm just going to insert my needle through my backing so that I come up right on the edge of the stone, like that. So it takes a little time to like to get the feel of where your needle's going, but you really don't need to keep turning it over every time you do a stitch. You're going to get a feel for where that needle's going to go. So we're going to use back stitch. Now I have a video coming up on all the different stitches and ways we're going to attach beads to the rest of the cuff. But I wanted you to get, because I think the next step in this is bezeling. I want you to get the bezel done before you do the rest of it. So I'm going to show you backstitch just in the round, which is fine because it doesn't really matter whether you're doing it round or straight, you know, circular or straight. So I'm going to pick up 2 of my Delica beads. I'm going to drop those down to my cuff, and I'm just going to make sure they're sitting sort of on the edge like that. Okay? Let's see if I can pull in a tiny bit more. Then I'm just going to place my needle. So you see how I have it right against the edge? Place my needle right in front, insert my needle right here in front of the second bead I put on. Okay, just like that. I kind of hold my middle finger on the thread in the back. Now I want to come back up my backing in front of the first bead that I put on. Like I said, you might have a little issue just finding the space. So just kind of feel with your finger and with your needle. There you go. So I'm coming up in front of the first bead, and I'm going forward through the 2 beads I just put on. I'm going to pick up 2 beads that we're going to put on. All these beads are going to be put on in 2s because we need an even number for our peyote bezel. And backstitch we're going to put on 2s. You know, we're going to do it in 2s anyway. So you want to make sure you're going to have an even number, and you know you're going to have an even number if you're putting them on in 2s. Pick up 2, drop those down to the 2 that you've already sewn on, like that. Place your needle in the front of the second bead, sew down through your backing, like that. Now you want to go back 3 and come up through the backing. So I've gone back 3 beads. See, now I'm coming out between beads 1 and 2. So I've gone back 3, come through, and go forward. Now you don't have to be pulling this so tight that it's going to crunch everything up. Just like have a nice even tension and keep it, you know, keep it relaxed. Okay? So now I have on 4 beads. I'm going to pick up 2. I'm going to drop those down right next to the 4 that I already have on there. I'm just going to use my needle to just kind of bump them up against each other. Don't want them buckled or anything, just sort of like that. I'm going to place my needle in front of the second bead I put on, go down through my backing. I'm going to go back 3, come up through, from back to front, and then go forward 3. That's backstitch. So we're going to do all the way around. Do it one more time. Pick up 2 Delicas, drop them down. Make sure that they're sitting up against the others, just like that. Needle goes down after the second bead, right through the backing, like that. Come up through, come up, go back 3 beads and come up. So here, so I went back 3, coming up through the backing, and forward 3. Like that. It's all you're going to do all the way around. So you're putting on 2, going down, going back 3, coming forward 3. Putting on 2, down your backing, up, through, going back 3 and coming up, going forward 3. So that's all you're going to do. All right? I'll go once more. Pick up 2, drop them down. Just give them a little nudge back. Needle goes down in front of the second bead. Come up through the backing, back 3, so right through, going back 3 beads, and then go forward 3 beads. Like that. Okay, so this is what we're going to do all the way around. And because we want an even number, because we're doing a peyote bezel, you want to make sure that you're always putting on 2 beads. So when you come to the end and there's only room for 1 bead, no go. You have to make sure that when you come down like, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch before the end, several beads before the end, you want to adjust, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to fit 2 beads. It doesn't matter the number, 2, any, you know, putting on 2 after 2 after 2 is always going to give you an even number. So you always want to make sure that the last 2 beads will fit in the space. So come out around to like close to the end, and I'll show you that you can space it a little bit. So give yourself maybe 1/4 of an inch or a little bit more, and then stop, and then I'll show you. You can sort of adjust your spacing a little bit if your 2 beads won't fit perfectly in the end. All right, so have fun with that, and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So I've left a little space. So I have this much to go, and I want to just see if I can fit an even number of beads in there. Now, excuse my Band-Aid. I left to go do some cooking, and you know how it goes sometimes when you're cooking. Things happen. So here, what I did is I just slid 10 beads on, or 8 or 10 beads, an even number, onto my thread, and I'm just going to pop it in place to see if I can fit. So I might be able to get all 10 in there. We'll see. They're very close together, so with the thread, they might not fit. So I'm going to give it a try. But if I didn't have enough room to fit an even number of beads in, and let me take this off. I would just, like if I did that and it only held 9 beads, I would just kind of leave like a sliver of space between my sewing. So here I'm going to pick up 2. And I'm just going to, maybe move this one up a little bit, and then put my needle in. And sometimes you'll get all the way to the end and you'll have to take them out. So now I'm going to go back 3. I'll do this part with you. I'm going to go forward. Three, pick up 2. I drop them down. Like so. Go back 3 and go forward. Pick up 2. So if you know that you're not going to fit, then you're just leaving a little bit of space, in between your beads. Okay, so it looks like I'm not going to make it. It looks like that's going to be 3 beads right there. So just going to see how that fit goes. All right, so I'm just going to kind of push those back a little bit. So I probably could fit 4 beads here. So I'll pick up 2. If I couldn't, I'd have to take it out. You don't want to bunch them up. You're better off having a little bit of space. Okay, go down. Go back 3. Come up. Go forward 3. Okay, now I have to fit 2 beads in here. So I'm going to manipulate it a little bit because it looks like it maybe will fit 1 1/2. And you know what I'm going to do also? Another thing you can do is you can find like your skinniest delicas, because sometimes, some delicas are skinnier than others. So here, let's see if these 2 fit. Yes. So I'm just going to make it. All right, so that's like, it's so rare that happens. Usually you have to space it. So if it didn't fit, I'd have to go back, take a few out. So you see that worked out just fine. You'd have to go back, take a few out, and the reason I'm lifting that up is because I just want to make sure where I'm going back 3. That would be right here. So now I'll pull it from the back, pull it down. So you might just have to take a few out, and so here's, and space a little better. So after I do this, see, I'm going to come up my 3, but I'm going to go past by a few beads. So I'm going to sew around a little bit just to get everybody sort of, connected nicely. So now I have my first round on. So get that done, get that end done to where your beads fit in nicely, and then we'll continue. Back. So now we're going to start the peyote bezel. So you're exiting a bead. Remember we went through the last 3, and we're coming out of a bead. It doesn't matter which bead you're coming out of. So we're just going to start a regular peyote bezel now. So pick up a bead, exiting right there. See that bead? Skipping this one, sewing through the next one. Just like that. Lost my needle. Okay. Do that again. Pick up a delica. Exiting here, skip this one. So you're skipping the next bead and sew through the following bead. Like that. Let me see if I can hold this. Here, I'll hold it this way. Pick up a delica. Exiting here, skip this one, sew through the next one. Here's my stone is popping up a bit. I didn't put my stone in, glue it in that tightly, which is okay because once you get all your rounds on, you really, the glue is no longer necessary. But anyway, here we're coming out of this one, skip the next one, sew through this one. So that's why my stone is popping up a teeny bit. Like that. Pick up a delica, exiting here, skip this one, sew through the next one. And you just have a regular peyote bezel going, and get ready to be caught on all your other stones until you're done. So just keep doing that all the way around until you get close to the end, and then we'll step up together. All right, see you in a few. Okay, coming down to the end, so we'll do the last few beads together. So here I'm exiting this bead. I'm going to skip one and sew through the next one. Like that. Pulling in a little bit, make sure that sits nicely. And here's my last one. So I'm exiting here, skipping this one. I'm going to sew through this one and the one on the diagonal. Okay? Like that. And now I've stepped up. So I'm pulling in a little bit. And so this is what my bezel looks like so far. Cool, huh? So I'm thinking, I'm just not sure. I might go one more round, just so you can see it on the front. So all I'm going to do, picking up a delica, just sewing through the sticking out delicas. Pick up a delica, sewing through the sticking out delica, pick up a delica, sew through the next sticking out delica, and so on. Picking up a delica, sewing through the next sticking out delica. Do that all the way around, and then we'll step up, and then I think we'll put the 15-0s on. All right, see you in a minute. Coming down to the end, picking up a delica, exiting here, skipping this one, sewing through this one, delica, exiting here, skip this one, sew through the next one and the one on the diagonal. Just like that. Okay, so now you just want to decide whether or not you want to continue with another round. You just want to make sure the round, that it's fitting, that it's coming in a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead with my 15-0s at this point, because this is a pretty shallow stone, so I don't think I need any more 11-0s. So I'm picking up a 15-0, sewing through the next, delica, 15-0, sew through the next delica, 15-0. That's all we're going to do. Sew through the next delica, and I'm going to do 2 rounds of 15-0s. So just get that done. You can step up now, and then meet me back here after your second round, and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So I put on my next round of 15-0s, and then I decided, because I wanted a little more, it was secure. I just wanted it to show a little bit more. I took a totally optional step. I took some Charlottes, I think these are, let me see the size on these for you. These are 13-0 check Charlotte beads. And these are those little beads they're so tiny and they have one facet on them. And they're so pretty, if you want to use them in bead embroidery. So that's sort of an optional step. This is all going to depend on the stone you use. If you're using something else, then you have to just determine how it's going to fit. So if you put, several rounds of delicas on and it's not pulling in, you're going to have to take a round out. This worked very well for this stone, giving it a little pull, and it's holding really nicely and it looks pretty. But you're going to have to, you might have to change that according to what stone you're using. And that goes for any bezel that we're doing. We've learned how to do the bezeling, but you're going to have to just, determine the fit. And don't be afraid to take it out. If the bezel is too loose or it's too tight and it's not fitting right, take it out and try again until the beads fit really nicely. All right, so I'm exiting. This actually is Charlotte here. Let me make sure this is the one. Okay, so this is right here. Or, if you're on your 15-0, I'm just going to sew my thread in like I would do in a normal bezel. So I'm just going to go on the diagonal through the next bead. Just want to work my way to the delicas. And then I'm going to go through this one, just working my way through. And now I'm going to go through a delica, just like that. And I'm going to sew through a few delicas. So it's on the diagonal. And this, you can tighten up your bezel this way. If it's slightly loose, you can just go all the way around your bezel and tighten it up. That's another thing, a little tip. All right, so I'm just going through on the diagonal. Going to go through this one. So on your Peyote bezel how you sew it in. And then so here I'm exiting one of this type of bead where I have two next to each other. Right here, I'm just going to reverse direction. And then I'm going to sew through a few beads in this direction. And then I'm going to clip off my threads because then I'm done with the bezel. So if you need to tighten your bezel, like I said, go around the beads again, just go on the diagonal all the way around. If your bezel is good, or if you want to add more beads, you can. This is what it looks like. I'm going to clip off this thread. Here we go. Great, huh? Do you love it? It's fantastic. I love it. This is so much fun. I could do this all night. All right, so I'm going to let you get to that point, and you're going to do these exactly the same way, just with the two beads, and you're going to bezel this exactly the same way. This is, you're going to go up, a certain amount until it's, it's tight. You want to make sure it's tight and it fits nicely. So you can do those on your own, but when we come back, I'm going to show you how to do this one because this is a little bit different. All right, see. Okay, we're back. So let's start this guy. So this is not a peyote bezel. It is just backstitch, but I've done 2 rounds of backstitch, and it makes a really pretty surround for the stone. When I did Tallulah, I used that particular technique on everything, and all the stones have been secure over time. I do like the peyote bezel, however, for a bigger stone. But this is really good for, for when you're doing a stone that, maybe you want to do eyes and you don't want to do a bezel. So we did it on that, and I actually did it on this one. So anyway, let's get started. So I'm going to do it on a separate little piece. So let me put this over here. So here I have my stone down, and I'm just going to, so this one I'm going to sew down, and I'll just show you how to sew it down, even though I have that coming up again on, the video where we're going to do all the stitches. So I did the same thing. I threaded my needle, a couple of feet of thread, maybe 2.5. I did my little double knot with a small tail coming up through the backing. I don't have this one glued down, so I'm just going to hold it with my finger. So I've come up the side of where the hole is, just going to go down the hole like that. And then I'm just going to, from the back, come back up the other hole like that. That's how it looks on the back. All right. And then I'm going to go down the other side of the hole, to secure it. And then I'm going to come up right on the edge of the backing, of the stone, right through the bottom on the edge. So that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. And I'm just going to start backstitch. So I'm going to pick up 2, drop them down, my needle through, go back, to the front of the first stitch, come through, go forward, just like that. Pick up 2, drop them down, pop my needle in, you got it, just what we've been doing. Go back 3, and go forward 3. So you're going to do that all the way around, just like you did with the Peyote bezel, only it doesn't matter if you have an odd number of beads with this, because we're not going to do peyote, so we don't have to worry about it. So if you come out with an odd number, no big deal. Alright, so come all the way around to the end, and then come on back, and we'll do the second row. So I'm coming down to the end. I'm going to fit 2 beads in, but it doesn't really matter if you put 2 in or you don't. You can just do 1. So I'm just going to just attach these just like I've been doing. Like that. Just going to go back and come forward. Okay, so now I have this on. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew through all the beads again. So I'm just exiting. It doesn't matter what bead you're exiting. You know, you've just come forward. I'm just going to sew around the whole thing. Just going through all the beads. And this is going to sort of straighten it out. Continuing around. A little bit more. And it doesn't matter if you go past. You know, at this point we're just bringing the thread around. So I'm just going to go a little bit further. Like that. Okay, so here I have it done. And that looks pretty good, huh? Alright, so I want to cover these holes, of course. So I'm exiting a bead. I'm just going to bring my needle right through my backing. Like that. And then I'm going to come back up in between the crystal and the 11 O's I just put on. So you see how I'm sticking, my needle's coming right through the 2? You know, right through the backing. It's not through a bead or anything. So do you see how that, can you see that? I hope you can. It's kind of pushing the bead out of the way. Alright, so that's where I want your thread to end up. So just get to that point and then we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So there's our threads coming through the backing in between the crystal and the 11 O's. So I'm just going to start back stitch right here, and I'll show you, you'll see how to do this. So pick up 2 15 O's, drop those down, and let me show you where they end up. They end up in this little groove that's right here between the 11 O's, the round of 11 O's, and this crystal. So I'm just going to do back stitch. So I'm going to put my needle right through. Plenty of room to get your needle in there. There. Going to come up through the backing, right behind the 2 15 O's. And you know, you might have to maneuver it a little bit, but you get the feel for it after a while. And then forward 2. Like that. Pick up 2. Drop them down. See how that looks? How it goes right in that little groove right there? Okay, so drop them down. And push them back a little bit. Put your needle in. Come up, come back 3 and up through the backing. Here we go. And then forward 3. That's just what you're going to do all the way down. Do it one more time. Pick up 2. Drop them down. A little push back. Insert your needle. Go back 3 and forward 3. Okay, so now you have this little technique down. You're just going to do that all the way around. And if you notice, it pretty much covers, once I get done and pull it, pretty much covers the hole. That where I've sewn, the hole in the flat back. So, that's fine with me. I think it looks really good. All right, so now you've learned how to do back stitch, and you've learned how to do your bezel. So I'm going to send you off to finish all your bezels, and make sure you love everything. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start, I'm going to post the video with the stitches, and then we're going to start filling in, and we're going to put that cup chain on, but I'm not exactly sure how to put it on yet, so that'll be coming up. One little tip I want to share with you: if you are concerned or worried about how am I going to put my colors in the background and such, this isn't a colored pencil obviously, but if you have colored pencils, you can kind of lightly color the areas. Let's say I wanted this pink and this blue, or this blue and this pink, or the background, this part of the background silver. You can kind of lightly color in. I wouldn't do it super dark because I'm always changing my mind, but that can give you an idea of where to place your colors if you need to. All right, so go off and have fun with your bezels, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.